Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Shelley Malott from Cast and Crew Marketing. Welcome to another installment of our webinar series, Creating the Digital Production Office. Cast and Crew Vice President of Product Marketing and Strategy, Ivana Malcolm, and co-head of International at Cast and Crew, Lauren Sargent, will review our powerful and comprehensive accounting tools, PSL Plus, PCard Plus, and DPO. They'll be joined by Andrew Jablonski, Vice President, East Coast and International Sales at Cast and Crew, and Alistair Wilson, Product Manager at Sargent Disc. We welcomed Sargent Disc to the Cast and Crew family late last year, greatly expanding our international reach, and we're excited to have them join us here today. Before I hand off to our speakers, let me remind you of a few things. If you do have any questions during the presentation, kindly type them into the Q&A box. To help us answer as many of your questions as possible, be sure to upvote if someone has already asked what you want to hear. The team will be answering your questions at the end of the webinar. We will also be providing a video recording to all who registered, so be sure to look for that link in your email later today. Without any further delay, let's learn more about PSL Plus, PCard Plus, and DPO.
Thank you, Shelley. We're excited to bring to you our fifth installment of our Creating the Digital Production Office series. We have a lot to talk about today and want to quickly say thank you for joining us. We know you have options, and choosing to spend your time with us is an honor, and we are grateful. It's been an informative couple of weeks as we've navigated through our payroll suite of products, showcasing My Cast and Crew, Start Plus, Hours Plus, Studio, and also our CAPS ETC product. We are now going to head over to our accounting suite and provide you with an overview of both PSL Plus and PCard Plus. We will then do an in-depth review of DPO with our partners across the pond, Sargent Disc. So, as many of you know, PSL is the foundation of a production accounting office. And quite frankly, there is no other accounting product that can come close to the level of functionality and ease of use for our accountants. Cast and Crew has expanded our product offerings, but without a doubt, PSL is the heart and soul of Cast and Crew. When I started in this business, it was on the creative side. I was a writer's assistant, and I'll never forget my first, start form and time card where I put in $600 a week, and it came back to me with the weekly rate crossed out and replaced with an hourly rate and some overtime and interesting calculations. And I was like, what is happening here? And then I worked for a line producer, and he would ask me for things like a cost report or a hot cost. And I'm like, what's a hot cost? Needless to say, accounting was a mystery to me back then. But there was always the constant acronym you would hear in any accounting office, PSL. And you can say PSL is synonymous with accounting, whether your production is domestic or international. And there's nobody better to tell you more about PSL than my colleague, Andrew Jablonski, our VP of East Coast and International Sales. Andrew, there's a lot to say about PSL Plus and what's new. Would you take us through it?
Sure, absolutely. There may be better people, but they're not who we have here today. I'm going to give it my best shot.
Maybe some of our audience members too, huh?
My foray into the entertainment industry was not creative at all. I jumped right in accounting. Like many of the folks on the call today, I was lucky enough to be one of the people entering that data and eventually running the reports that you're talking about. So today, as we continue to focus on the massive effort to eliminate receiving paperwork from the wardrobe department that is attached by safety pins, because after all, that's what going digital is all about. We're going to focus on PSL Plus and some of its enhancements and integrated tools. Over the course of 10 years working as a freelance accountant and in studio production finance, I worked with just about every production accounting system that was available at the time, but it really wasn't until I used them side by side that I realized how much more functional, robust, and most importantly, user-friendly PSL was when it was compared to all the others. On top of that, and probably most importantly, product support and training was then and is now the best in the business. It remains the gold standard. Now, before we get into the meat of the webinar, I'm sorry. I know a lot of those in attendance today are longtime PSL users. So we're going to hold a little bit of a contest to kick things off. I bet that most, if not all of you, no matter how long you've been working with Cast and Crew, don't actually know what PSL stands for. So to the first person who can correctly define the acronym PSL in the chat below, we're going to give away one free PSL Plus license on any show that Cast and Crew is processing your payroll for. Good luck. Be sure to get in touch with Eric Belcher to collect your prize.
Oh, I am sure Eric is going to be so excited to be getting a lot of emails.
Yeah, you're welcome,
Andrew,
Eric.
Exactly. Interesting fact. It was only recently that I learned what PSL actually stands for. That's just how PSL is accounting systems, period.
I've been using it, selling it for almost 18 years, and it took me equally as long to look know the first person is that comes out with the correct answer.
I love it.
So yeah, on to PSL. The first question people ask about PSL Plus is how does it differ from PSL 3? And it's a great and obvious question. Immediately, you'll notice that PSL Plus has a streamlined look and feel. In other words, it's been modernized. However, for the longtime users who don't want to learn something new and never want to take your fingers off the keyboard, you'll be happy to know that Plus has the same keystrokes and functionality as PSL's earlier models. So you can keep banging away at those F keys all day. You never have to touch a mouse.
Yeah, we don't want to mess with how they do their work or anything like that, right?
No, that's one thing we've heard forever is if something works, the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or if it ain't, yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I got you.
That's what we heard from everybody. It works in a way that is very user-friendly. People are used to it. People can get through the system quickly. There was no reason to introduce something new. It was just a reason to enhance it and make it better for the future. Part of that is for users will also find that PSL Plus is much faster than previous models. And it is fully operated or fully supported by Mac operating systems, which a lot of our users ask all the time.
Absolutely. There's a lot of Mac users out in the field for sure.
Sure.
So that's great. In addition to that, we've done some work with integration. Do you want to kind of take us through what those are specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest improvement to PSL is its ability to support system integration. PSL Plus, as mentioned, while it looks and feels for the most part the same, functions the same, it has a whole new backbone that allows it to integrate seamlessly with other essential accounting tools that have become commonplace in the production accounting office. This allows users to transfer data directly into PSL Plus from products such as Studio, PCard Plus, and DPO, both of which you'll be seeing more of in just a little bit.
And I'm particularly excited about too.
Yep, absolutely. And on the corporate side, PSL Plus also interfaces with many major corporate accounting systems and has the ability to interface with many more. So if you happen to be using a system that doesn't have a current interface, no worries. With PSL's export functionality, we can produce Excel spreadsheets for upload into just about any system. So we've got you covered there as well.
Amazing. So Andrew, I know that, on the digital product side, we've done some additional work on security and things like that. Do you want to also share a little bit how we've changed that in PSL Plus as well?
Sure. Data security is a hot topic in all industries, and ours is no different. After all, what good is your data if it isn't secure?
True story.
Yeah. On the user end, in PSL Plus, users will have an enhanced security through MFA and Okta via a single sign-on process. Now, I know it sounds confusing and like a jumble of capital letters that don't really mean anything, but in the end, it's very similar to what you might use online banking, paying your mortgage, doing anything with insurance, anything that contains sensitive data. These are very common procedures in today's world.
Yeah, and especially if our people out in the audience are also utilizing Start and Hours and our other products, MFA is a part of the process. So we're just bringing it all under one roof and making sure everybody that has access is, is doing it securely.
For sure. That's a great point, is that we're also looking for consistency across all of our products. So if you're using one, you'll be familiar with it across all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very cool. And then I know recently we've been getting a ton of emails from our clients asking about ACH.
Yes.
Will you take us through that?
Sure. So with the improved security, that allows for improved functionality. And ACH transactions are a must for many of our clients these days, especially in the US and Canada. I say the US and Canada because for our UK and EU partners on the call today, we know this is old news for you guys. It's boring. You've been doing it for years, but we are catching up. We're going to be there shortly. In the meantime, Cast and Crew has been working diligently with banks to ensure that ACH transactions can process without a need for paper checks. We recognize that eliminating paper is of the highest priority given the current crisis, and Cast and Crew is ready to work with you and your bank to set up ACH quickly and efficiently.
Awesome. And then certainly last but not least, VAT filing. And I know, Lawrence, if you will reveal yourself, you'll probably, there he is.
I'm still here, yeah.
Hello.
I'm listening quietly in the background. So.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You're like, wow, this is a really great webinar.
I can't keep quiet about VAT filing, though, I have to say. It's been a long time coming to see enhancements in this area. So Andrew, yeah, if you want to just...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're happy to say that PSL Plus was the first system to offer electronic VAT filing in our industry. And with it, users can collect data directly from PSL, calculate it, and file it directly with HMRC. And Lawrence, I don't know if there, with everything that's going on with production in the UK being at an all-time high, I invite you to say a couple other words about the importance that this particular system has to the UK film industry.
Yeah, so it's so much easier and more accurate to be able to report and file digitally than having to run reports and re-enter them into government websites. But so it's great that PSL is making tax digital compatible, which is a government-led scheme to try to digitize the whole filing process in the UK. And we've been pushing for better VAT handling in production accounting software for many years. So fantastic to see that in PSL, and obviously it's been since April of last year that the new rules came in. But as of March this year, the process of filing has to be integrated into your software rather than sort of cutting and pasting and moving data around. So the aim is to make sure that everyone is reporting accurately and in a timely fashion, and this just helps you do that on production. So it's a great step in the right direction.
Perfect.
That's really awesome. So that's great. Thank you guys both for taking us through a little bit what the new enhancements are with PSL Plus. Before I jump into PCard, Andrew, I just want to say there's one guess that got lobbed off, which I thought was pretty rad. They said it stands for pumpkin spice latte. So I don't know if that's the winner, but I'm just saying.
That's a good guess. I like it.
I like it too. There's some creativity out there in the audience. That's fantastic. All right, you ready to, let's take the audience through our PCard solution. So a little over a year ago, Cast and Crew introduced into the market our purchasing card solution, PCard Plus. So Andrew and I are going to now walk you through the card and how it functions. So to kick it off, you can access PCard Plus at app.castandcrew.com/cards. And whether you're an administrator, a crew member, or to sign up for the card itself, you can access it through this website, and it is all done from this screen. Setup is really easy. Just simply provide the information that's required. It's also important to note that you are setting up a bank account with Bento. So Bento is the company that facilitates the PCard for you and the production. Once you sign up, Bento will contact you to validate the information and activate your PCard Plus account.
Great.
That's how you
also
get
important to note, I'm sorry, Ivana, I was just saying, it's also important to note that PCard Plus is currently fully integrated with PSL Plus. So we talked about integration earlier. This is one of those products that the new backbone in PSL Plus allows for integration with.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Integration is key. So once you are logged in as an administrator, the first thing you're going to see is your dashboard. Alerts will appear on the left part of your screen. You can subscribe to different types of alerts, things like, transactions that have been completed, account or card notifications, such as if something was canceled or a card was reissued. You can also set your notifications and designate how you would like to receive them. So that could be either through email or SMS text message. To the right of the dashboard, you're also going to see a chart that provides high-level information and denoting what your monthly spend is and how it's categorized, how the purchases are categorized. And in the upper right-hand corner, you also have visibility to your available balance in your PCard Plus account. And speaking of funds, the system does let you know by what date to add more cash. So simply click the Add Funds button right there, on the bottom right, or you can go ahead and navigate to the Funds tab.
So this should eliminate those last-minute phone calls and text messages getting from your crew member who's at the store, out of funds, can't purchase anything, needs to rush it. It's all here to make your life easier.
Totally, like that's never happened. Totally. So there are 3 different methods available to you to send funds. And so Bento does require that you do have a US-based bank in order to receive the funds. I know, Andrew, you've been getting a lot of questions about Canada.
Yeah, we have, and we're working with Bento. I know that the PCard solution is just as important in Canada as it is here in the US. So I just want to let everybody know that we are working through it. We're working on that solution, and I will be in touch with you all, hopefully relatively soon, to let you know our path forward with PCards in Canada.
Perfect. So just to kick it off, the 3 different methods. The first one, you're connecting to a bank, and if you're familiar with like Venmo, this is a similar process, and it's the fastest method. So simply log into your bank directly and transfer those funds within the application. Please note the federal government does limit the amount to $10,000 per day. And for a wire transfer, there is no daily cap, and funds are usually available the same day if you complete this before 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then last but not least, you can also do a bank transfer. That's a little bit more commonplace, and funds are simply transferred from bank to bank and usually takes 2 to 3 days to complete, and there is no cap on funds. The other really nice thing, as we mentioned on the earlier screen, you can schedule reloads ahead of time. So you can do this on a daily or a weekly basis, and you also have access to your transaction history. It's really pretty straightforward. The other thing that's really nice too, if you have any questions about how to do any of those transfers, you just simply click there, and there are instructions available to you in the actual website. All right, we're going to move on to the admin screen. This one is a no-brainer, super simple. It's an admin screen. You have the ability to manage your users. You can add, delete, and or modify permissions as necessary. And adding an admin is really easy. Simply complete that information and denote the permissions you would like for the user to have. You can designate full access, view only, or no access, which is what everybody should give me, no access. Just kidding. All right, so to the next tab, we are now in the cards tab of PCard Plus. Obviously, this is where the bulk of the exciting things happen. You can see the different cards you've issued to on your project. You have the ability to navigate and manage the PCards here, control access, and how the PCards are utilized. And if we see, we've turned off Eric Belcher's PCard because he's been on a spending spree, specifically pumpkin spice lattes.
Well played.
Thank you. I had to fit that one in. All right. So to add a new card, you can simply click the Add Card button on the upper left-hand corner. You can add a card as an individual or a utility card. So the employee card can be used for a department head, anybody in accounting, construction. It is a physical card and is used, obviously for those transactions, and will show the user's name. The users are also able to access their transaction history in the mobile The plastic card, if you're ordering that, usually takes about 7 to 10 days. You can expedite it overnight. Or if you want a virtual card, this functions similarly to a credit card in your Apple Wallet. It's, it's designed to use for e-purchases or any other purchases online and is available instantaneously.
The utility card. So the utility card, as the name suggests, is designed for specific utilities. The most common thing that we see this card used for is a gas card. So you give it to your crew members who are on the go, but you want to limit their spending. They can get gas, and that's just about it. You could limit, there's a couple other utilities you could put in there, but this is obviously what we see it used most for.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, important to note, you're still able to set your limits and controls. The only difference here, though, is on the utility card, there is no access on the mobile app. So when uploading receipts, you would have to access via laptop and not via the app on your phone.
Perfect. So this is the card controls. I'm going to let my friend here, Andrew, walk us through all the fun bells and whistles we can do to set limits. Every
good credit card, debit card, purchase card needs limitations. And as we know, not all card holders are created equal. Everybody has different rights to what they're allowed to do. On the simplest level, you can set weekly and monthly spend limits, which you can see in the top left-hand corner of the screen up there. You can also set spending by days of the week. If you don't want crew members spending on the weekends, not a problem. You can turn it off right here. You can leave it on for some. You can turn it off for others. Below that, you'll also see that you can restrict spend by purchase type. So unfortunately, while your ATL crew and their staff might be fully approved to spend big at the restaurants and liquor stores, that's not going to work for everybody.
That's just no fun, Andrew.
It is not fun, but it is also not fun being the spending police. And anybody who's worked in accounting and done PCards and petty cash knows what I'm talking about. So here's where you can restrict spend based on the work an individual cardholder will be performing throughout the course of your production.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. So last but certainly not least is the transactions tab. So you can verify the transactions here that have been completed or are in process. It's really very flexible. You do have the ability to pull very different types of reports. Simply just use the filter button to the left and navigate the options. And you can go ahead and export that report as well.
Great, thank you, Ivana.
Absolutely. And then last but not, one more thing I do want to mention, to connect to PSL Plus, you can also navigate to your account settings to receive the Bento PSL Show ID. It's right there in the middle of my screen. We will also provide you with a how-to guide on how to reconcile charges within PSL Plus.
Perfect.
Okay. I know, pretty good. So thanks, Andrew. I really appreciated that, man. We got through it. So a quick recap here are the highlights. Below, as you can see, from our demo of PCard Plus. One more thing to note, we do have that direct integration into PSL, and the charges are synced every night. So that's another big plus there. If you do want to learn more about it, just contact us at Cast and Crew in the sales department, and we will help you out. All right, fantastic. So I'm going to transition us out of PCard Plus and bring in the UK crew. Hey guys. So digital purchase orders, they're very important in the production accounting process. So I'm excited to hand it off to my new friend and colleague, Lawrence Sargent, and Alistair Wilson, our product manager of DPO. I am going to say one thing. I'm going to give this warning. I have a terrible knack that if I'm around folks with interesting accents, I may try, and quite badly, to emulate them. So if I do that accidentally, I'm going to rely on Andrew to pull me back to my New York roots. All right, everybody. Go ahead, Lawrence, take it away.
Oh, thank you, Ivana. It's great to be part of the Cast and Crew family and to join you for this webinar today and to let you know all about the things we've been doing at Sargent Disc with the DPO team to advance the digital production office over in the UK and internationally. So under the new COVID protocols, it's more important than ever for productions to be able to send, track, and approve purchase orders digitally. And DPO is the industry standard for doing that and much more besides. So DPO is used by nearly all of the studios when shooting internationally, whatever the size of the project. And it's great now to see a lot of US shows moving away from paper as well. And going paperless for us is not just about adopting the digital production office. It's about working safely post-COVID. And it's also about working efficiently. So average approval times for a PO on DPO is less than 5 minutes. And those efficiencies are now really proven with DPO. It's also about working intelligently. So you have the ability to see and track POs and to get them approved by the right people every time. You can also see when a PO hasn't been raised at all. So you know what's going on the production all the time. It's also about working securely. So only the right people can see the right POs at the right time. And if you don't want someone to see a PO number until it's the right time to share it with them, then you can hide that too. Also importantly, it's about working sustainably. So with each PO that you send through DPO, you can save 50 grams of carbon dioxide. And it might not sound like a lot, but on a major feature, that can add up to 0.5 ton of carbon emissions saved. And that's without taking into account the CO2 emissions associated with postage or delivery, which is pretty good when you consider how much faster than FedEx DPO is. And finally, it's about working anywhere. So a lot of us are working from home now. And with DPO in your pocket, you can create and approve a PO on the go wherever you are. And it's easy to do with a simple web application, but there's also a brand new mobile app for Android and iOS to help you do that as quickly and efficiently as you can. So before Alistair walks us through the features of DPO, I should also add that DPO interfaces with PSL Plus, and it also interfaces with other production accounting software. So if you do have to use something else on your show, you can always use DPO, but clearly we want you to choose PSL, and I'm sure many of you use it regularly that are listening today. As we're about to see, DPO is all about simplicity, about helping your production control costs efficiently, and all the complexity is hidden behind the scenes, which, excusing the pun, it's managed by the system rather than you having to do that by tracking bits of paper. We'll see some of those configuration options today, but Alistair is going to start by showing us how to create, amend, void, and approve POs using DPO. He'll then show us how DPO can track deliveries and invoices, and he'll give us, I hope, a sneak preview of the upcoming invoice approval feature. So you heard it here first, but yeah, there's features coming to help you track the whole end-to-end process digitally. And then finally, Alistair is going to demonstrate that DPO is not only for purchase orders, it can also be used to create and approve travel authorizations and much more. So without any further ado, Alistair, if you're there, I hand over to you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so here we are at the login screen for the digital purchase order app. It's a web-based application, and as Lauren said, it comes with a mobile app as well for iPhone and Android. So DPO, you can use it to create and approve, send out purchase orders, all within the application, and you can track the whole process throughout. So I'm just going to log in. Now, when you first log into Digital Purchase Order, you will see a variety of icons, or just one, depending on how many shows you're involved with. We call these icons DPO books. Now, a book is a self-contained module within Digital Purchase Order, comes with its own users, its own approval chain. It usually represents one legal entity on a show. So, for example, if you are shooting in the US and you've got a location shoot in Canada, you would tend to have two books. One for the US company and one for the Canadian company. And we can also get specialist books, for example, for travel authorizations, and some of our US customers also like to use them for check requests as well. So you can edit out, you can filter out books where things require your approval, and that little red number shows you how many things you have to approve within each book. So I'm going to go into this one here, Sergeant Dis Demo. Now, the basic operation of DPO is very straightforward. When you first go into a DPO book, you land on the View PO tab. And this is where you can just look at purchase orders, depending on your privileges. You know, you might be only able to see POs that you've written, or POs within your department or departments, or you might be able to see every PO within the book. So the three tabs are Create New PO, that's where you go if you want to write purchase orders. View PO, that's where you go if you want to just look at them. And the approval list, that's where POs awaiting your immediate approval will all be collated in one place. So let's write a purchase order. So first of all, you have to assign the PO to a department. Now this is important because the route of approval for the purchase order can often be determined by the department as well. That's one criteria for determining who has to approve the PO. Next, we can start typing in a vendor. Now, depending on the show, you may or may not allow your users to create new vendors when they're writing purchase orders, or you may only allow them to pick from a list that's managed by the administrators. We can, of course, import vendors for you as well, with PSL vendor codes if necessary to improve the integration. I've got department and vendor. Let's click next. So next up, we have what we call DPO components. DPO components is just a little tool we have for doing a little bit of customization in the configuration. Just as an example, I've got a little conflict of interest declaration, so the crew can declare if there's any relation with the vendor. And I've also got ACH transfer fields if necessary. You don't have to use components. You can just skip straight from the vendor details to the items. So now we can enter our line items in. It's fairly straightforward. Name of the item, brief description. And you can also group your line items into expenditure types. So fairly common ones are purchase and rental. You can put in a quantity. You don't have to use this multiplier here in the middle. I'll use that in the next line item and show you what you can do with it. And you can put in a price and select a currency. Now this book has got 4 different currencies set up: Canadian, Euro, Pounds, and US dollars. You can have more currencies or fewer. You can just have US if that's all you need. Depending on the setup, you may or may not have to code the POs when you write them, or you can save the coding until further down the approval process. You can also assign POs to a budget and sub-budget as well. And down here at the bottom, we've just got some extra configurable fields, which can be tailored to your requirements. I'll add a second line item. I'll make it a rental this time. We can tie dates to expenditure types as well. So for example, when I put in a rental, I can be prompted for dates, or I can make them required. And it's also very useful because you can also get notifications for when the rental's nearly up. And let's say I'm renting 10 horses for 2 weeks. I can put it in like that. Now, you may see that I'm entering my line items in pounds, but it's also giving me a comparison in dollars. Now, that's because I have set my base currency to be dollars. So that means if I write a PO in any other currency that's not US dollars, it will give me a comparison in dollars. This is useful, if you're a US company and you're shooting abroad in Canada or Europe or the UK, you can set US dollars as your base currency, so you're always getting a comparison. You can set a fixed budget exchange rate as well. You can also add in some extra notes if you need more detail. You can put in a delivery address. Each book comes with a sort of preloaded set invoice address that's configured in the admin section. But if the delivery address is different from the admin address, you can put that in. You can add attachments too. I'll just add my Zoom background. And depending on the setup of the show, your admins may or may not allow you to designate the attachment to go to the vendor when they get sent the PO. So the default behavior is most attachments are internal, but you can also set it up so that certain attachments go to the vendor. Above the line, I'll come back to that in the next window. You can also save it as a draft if you need to work on it a bit more, or you can save it as a template if it's going to be a common PO you're going to be sending out. Then when it's time to submit the PO to the approval chain, just click Create New PO. So I've submitted my PO to the approval chain. It's been assigned a PO number as well. You can actually hide that purchase order number based on the PO's progress through the approval chain. So you might say no PO numbers get revealed until the UPM is approved, for example. So now we're back on the View PO list. Let's just click on it there. So down here on the left, we can see the approval chain. We can see who ordered it. We've got the department over here on the right, the vendor details, the line items themselves, budget codes, sorry, account codes, budgets as well. So the approval chain that I have configured here, I have got the HODs in at level 1. And because it's a props department PO, it's going to the prop master first. Now, secondly, I've got production approving across all departments at level 2. And I've got 2 approvers at this level. I've got the UPM, and I've also got the production supervisor covering him. So that's an either-or situation I've set up here. So whichever one approves it first, then it will be approved. Then I've got the production accountant at the end as well as the last approver. And once the PO has gone through the entire way through the approval chain, then it can go to the vendor. Now, this is just an example approval chain. We configure it based on your requirements. We can do a lot more complex approval chains as well, if needs be. You can also download the PO as a PDF. So if you want to take a look at it as a document, you can do that.
So Alistair, you can add approvers above certain thresholds, can't you, in terms of
yes, yes, you can.
Specific currencies and values.
So I'll just go and amend this purchase order now. So you can amend the PO. You can either modify the existing line items, or you can put new ones in if you want to. You can put in a comment to say what you've changed. And then amend the PO. It gives it a revision number, but retains the same PO number. So now I've revised the PO. I can see the previous total, and I can see the difference as well. And now the PO is now greater than £10,000. So now I've got the executive producer approving as well. Now, it doesn't have to be 10,000, and it doesn't have to be pounds either. It could be $50,000. You could have multiple levels. You could have 50,000. You could have $100,000. Also, you can set these thresholds to only be specified in one currency, or you can have them convert the other currencies as well, so they reach across all currencies in the book. It's up to you. So we have department, and we have the amount of money. And DPO knows, based on the configuration, which approvers to send the PO to. You don't have to say, OK, it goes to the prop master. It knows because it's a prop PO. So we have department and money. We also have a manual flag we call the special flag. The special flag can be relabeled to whatever you need it to be. So if I flag this PO as above the line, it will then add on an additional approver. And you can flag it and unflag it up until final approval. So I'm going to log in as the prop master, and I'm going to approve this PO. The prop master, he has 3 POs to approve. And the prop master can see every purchase order in his department, regardless of the stage of approval. So if he wants to find the POs that he has to approve, this goes to the approval list. The PO that's been waiting longest will be at the top of the list. So if he goes down here, you can see the PO. Again, you can check it as a PDF if he wants to. You can see the latest version of the PO, the attachments. You can see the old version of the PO as well. Only the latest version of the PO will go to the vendor. The vendor won't get the revision history. So I'm just going to approve it as the prop master. And then as the UPM, I'll just show you what else you can do if you need to question the purchase order. Now I'm back in as the UPM. And the UPM can see every PO within the book. So the 3 tiers of visibility are your own POs that you've written, POs from your own department or departments, or all POs. And go to the approval list. And I can see that the prompt master approved on July 29th at 18 minutes to 9. Now, that date and time will localize based on your location. And now, if as the UPM I'm not happy with it, I could request a clarification with a comment without approving. I could send it back to a previous approver with a comment, and I can also decline it back to the creator, and then the creator could amend it and send it back on the approval chain. I could also amend it myself. So if a non-approver creates or amends a PO, it has to go all the way through the approval chain. If an approver amends a PO, the default behavior is it has to go through the whole approval chain. But if you're an approver and you make amendments or create POs, you can also have the PO jump straight to you in the approval chain if you want to. I could amend it myself. I could void the purchase order as well, and that would cancel it totally. So amending the PO retains the PO number, but gives it a revision number. You can't amend a voided PO, but you can create a copy with a new PO number. So we sort of have official amendments, but there's some other things that you can do, changes you can make to the PO that do not count as an official amendment. Those things are, if you have the right access, is you can add extra attachments without it resetting the approval chain. You can change the account code, and you can also change the budget. And you can also see how much of the budget you filled up. So the UPM can see every PO, even if it's not waiting in their approval list. So they can check whichever PO, see which approver it's waiting with as well. So this one, I'd be able to see the UPM. Or most of these are fully approved, but I could see it throughout the entire approval chain and spot the bottlenecks. And if I click on someone's name in the approval list, it can open up your email client, and you can send them an email with the PO number as the subject line. So some other things you can do as well are you can log delivery against a purchase order, either partial or full. And then we can also see this delivery as well and see who logged it. You can also log payments as well. But for this bit, I am just going to jump over to our development system, and I'm going to show you a feature that's coming very soon. So I'm just swapping over to the development system, and I'm going to go into invoice test.
Yes, this has been a long wait and an exciting one, Alistair, so thank you.
So here, when you log a payment against a PO, so you can put in an invoice number, a date, an order number. And you can also upload an attachment against a purchase order as well.
So this would be a copy of the invoice, for example.
Yes, for example. Yes, sorry. So yeah, you can upload the attachment. You can just save the payment, or depending, if the invoice is different from the PO, you might want to send it for approval as well. And then the approvers, it would then go through an approval chain, and you can approve it from here.
So there's a full history here. There's a full history here of everything that's been delivered, all of the invoices that have come in and that have been paid previously and approved. So to help you make a decision on what's remaining to be paid.
And you can download the invoice as well as the approver to take a look. And here we can just approve it. And then you can log the date and time of the approval of the invoice. So back onto the live system.
So we've done away with stapling invoices and purchase orders together and filing them as much as possible. So throw away the stapler.
Now, is that the English word for stapler? I don't think it is. I know there's another word.
You were teasing me with that earlier, but no.
Yes, I was.
We use the same word. Yeah, it's the same word.
So you can also close POs as well. You can either close them manually, but you can also configure auto closing as well. So if a PO is fully delivered and invoiced against, you can have it closed. You can also mark it as closed like this. And of course, you can also filter on all of these things as well. So we have an advanced search. So we've got some filter tools in the View PO window, but we also have advanced search as well, where you can search and filter based on approval status, has it been closed or not, invoiced or not, created range, approved range, PO number range, account codes, text, has it been delivered or not, delivery numbers, all that sort of thing. So let's say I wanted to see all my POs that have been approved in July so far. I could select approved and just give it the date range for July. I could also batch print based on this advanced search as well. So I can select all for batch print. And it'll include in the batch print, do I want to include the revisions or not? Do I want to include all attachments? Do I want to include terms and conditions? So we can incorporate company terms and conditions into the PO as an extra page of terms and conditions onto every outgoing PO. So the vendor gets T's and C's whenever they receive a PO. So the vendor will receive the latest version of the PO, any attachments that have been nominated to go to the vendor, and any company T's and C's. But in the accounts office, you probably just want the latest version, but you'll want all attachments. You don't want any T's and C's because that's the same for every PO. And then you can generate a batch PDF as well. So those are the main features. Oh, sorry, of course.
The last stage
once you've done all that, if you have access, you can go into the administration section and you can download batches of POs for importing into PSL.
So this is the brains behind the system. Everything is configured and set up here. And Alistair, in terms of actually getting this set up, it's a pretty quick process usually when you set up a show for a studio.
Well, yes, it is. It's fairly straightforward. You can put in the name of the book, the show name usually, maybe a location as well. Invoice addresses also. You can see your allocations down here. And this is where we can configure our approval levels. So I've got level 1, the HODs, only approving by department. You can see all my HODs here. Level 2, it's unrestricted by department. And I've got the UPM and the production supervisor, with a supervisor covering for the UPM if necessary in an either-or situation. Then I've got the production accountant. And then I've got the executive producer approving over £10,000 and an executive approving if the PO is flagged as special or if the PO is over $25,000. And using these tools, we can configure all kinds of different approval chains, and we have done for all sorts of customers as well.
I interrupted your export to PSL, which is the final part of the...
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's fairly straightforward. You can have DPO generate batches of POs each day for importing into the system. And you can just download an XML file and then upload it into the PSL system. People don't just use DPO for POs. We can also do travel authorizations as well. So if you go into this book here, you can segregate your TAs into a separate book. So again, if you want to create one, select for the travel department, select your travel agent. In this case, I've used components to just track, the type of vehicle that I'm using. And then you can put in your line items. And we can also use the DPO catalog feature to ask for certain types of information based on what your line item. So I just typed in flight, and then this just appeared automatically. and then you can just create the PO, the TA rather, based on that. I'll just show you one I made earlier. And this time, instead of in blue, the TAs come in red. And the general operation of the system is the same. You create a TA with the detail of the travel, and then you submit it for approval, and then it goes around the approval chain, gets a TA number, and then you can send it to the travel agent.
Great.
That's awesome. I love the color. It matches Lawrence's shirt.
It does.
I wasn't deliberate today, no.
Were you color coding today? That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Alistair. This was fantastic. I appreciate you taking us through DPO. I do want to make sure we do address some questions. So Alistair, if you could stay on your screen, and Lawrence and I can navigate with some of the DPO questions that we'd like to toss out. Sound good?
Yep, absolutely. So I'm just picking up a couple here. So let me just see, excuse me.
I've got one teed up, Lawrence, if you want.
I've got it. So there was a question about matching invoices with POs before paying them. Now we've got a range of different approaches studios take into that. One is to modify the PO itself, so that as a printed purchase order, it shows you a detail of what's been delivered and what's been paid already. So if the invoice that's come in matches the difference, you don't need to seek approval. But in addition, obviously, we've just demonstrated the ability to enter an invoice, attach a copy of it, and seek approval if it is different, or even if it's the same now. Depends on which process you want to operate. At the moment, that approval chain in phase one is going to be the same as the PO, but in future, there'll be a completely separate approval chain. So you might have a much shorter approval chain required for an invoice. So that will be simple.
Yep. I have a question here from somebody that's anonymous. They're asking, do crew members need to access PSL in order to create a PO? Sorry.
No.
So not at
So
all.
you can have it in
both of you at once.
Yeah. No, not at all. And I think that's the beauty of it is, you know, PSL is a very powerful tool, but it's a complex one. You need people who are properly trained and who have the ability to see, you know, a range of financial information. With DPO, they may only see their own purchase orders and no others. So you can really limit what people can see. They don't need very much training. It's a very simple process. They just follow the step-by-step guide to create a PO. So no, they have no need to access any other system. It does what it says on the tin. It's just a digital PO. So.
Yep, easy. So I have another question from Lorraine. She's asking, can you set up email or text alerts for approval to department heads, PMs, and producers?
So
yes, yes, you can. There are all sorts of notifications you can set up based on the PO's progress through the approval chain. So if I just sort of show you in settings, the users in DPO can have various notifications, email notifications currently, and they can tailor it exactly what they want to hear and when. So obviously a popular one would be new approvals for my own POs. That's the important one. That's where you get an email saying you have a purchase order to approve. But there's a whole host of others.
Yeah. It doesn't currently send you a text message, but on the mobile app, it does give you a little number on your home screen, so you can see if there's anything waiting for your approval. So it will give you a reminder that way as well.
Oh, fantastic! All right, great. I have a question from Jennifer. She's asking, accounting will accounting create the PO or the department? What options do they have?
So you can have users, and you can stop them from writing POs. But pretty much anyone who can access DPO can write a PO. And that's sort of the simplicity of the system. Is it's very easy to use. So people in the different departments can write the purchase order and get the purchase order number they need and send it to approval. So it doesn't have to be accounting at all.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Makes it a lot flexible. I have another question from Amy. How often does the exchange rate update for foreign currency transactions? Is that done automatically or by the accountant?
Either. So you can have a live exchange rate that's just pulled from a foreign exchange website, and that will just update continuously. Or you can define all your non-base currency in terms of your base currency. So US dollars is my base here, and then I've got Canadian, euros, and pounds all defined in relation to US dollars. You don't have to define them. You could set a different currency as your base and then define all other currencies from there.
Okay, fantastic. I've got another question from Stephen. It says, will you speak about matching invoices with POs before paying them? So I don't know if this is a clarification. I know you showed, Alistair, that portion of it, but can you clarify when does that happen, and are they before paying them or after? How does that work?
Well, you would enter it when you receive the invoice, so whether it's paid or not might depend on its needing to be approved. So the two are separate, but you would log the invoice when you receive it against the PO, and yeah, you may choose to pay it later. Certainly an area we'll look at in more detail, I think.
Okay, great.
I had a question from Ruby asking about the descriptions and whether they can be modified on the way into PSL. So I think it's true that the descriptions used by crew members might not be what you want in your books. So yes, you would need to modify them as you do the upload. But there is a file output from the system, so it's possible to change that, I think. So.
All right, fantastic. So there is a couple of more questions here. They're asking about this is from Rip. So what from experience has proven to be the best practice for DPO in accounting departments that are used to having an original physical yellow PO and a tracking sheet? Do you have any tips and tricks for somebody new that's using DPO?
Yeah, the tracking sheet question seems to have shown up a couple of times in here.
Yeah.
Touch on that.
So you can.
Yeah, go for it.
You can download all your POs into Excel if you want to, and use that as the basis of your tracking sheet. We can also, customize the Excel export as well if you want it in a specific way. And you can also see the progress of all the POs from within the application also. With regards for keeping the yellow copy, people still do print out copies of the PO. If you have visibility on the PO, you can print it out at any stage in the approval chain. One thing that sometimes people did, they did before COVID anyway, was that they would set up a specialist email address to always receive a copy of the finally approved PO, and they could configure what was in that PDF. Was it just the latest version? Was it the whole revision history? Did it have the attachments? Did it have the T's and C's? And you can set it up in here in PDF settings. So let's say I want just the latest version, so I'll leave revisions unchecked. Don't want the T's and C's, but I do want any attachments and a previous total comparison. And I want to copy the PO whenever it's approved or voided. And then what they did was they nominated an email address, and they'd actually have a printer hooked up to the computer that would automatically print the PO every time it was fully approved or voided, and would sit in the accounting office. And that was sort of
paperless working, though, is it?
Yes, not paperless working, but it's what people did.
Yes, that is true. Sometimes, still there's a bridge to going paperless, and sometimes.
So if you still need that yellow copy, then that's what you can do.
Exactly. Okay, I have one more from Ernest. Is the PO log digitally updated with the information when the PO is filled out, or is there a manual component to this task?
Well, the export will update, whenever you run it. So you can download the Excel export on demand, and it will have the latest information from all the POs.
But each revision of a PO will be in that export. So
yes, it will.
So if you amended a PO, then each one of those revisions will be in there. But obviously, only the last revision would be the one that you would be looking at.
Yep. All right, I'm going to do a couple more. We're a little bit over time, but we got a couple more questions that I'd like to kind of tackle before we close out. This one's from Catherine. Can you export PO logs in Excel?
Alistair, I think you answered this before.
Oh, you did? Okay. Sorry, that might have been my bad.
what I understand, then it's just that, yes, there's a CSV export, so you've got full access to all the data in all of your POs to report on. And obviously in the system too, so.
All right, fantastic. Okay, great. The only other thing, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot, Lawrence. They're asking, when is invoice approval going to be available now that we've seen the new build?
So there's a few things to finish off, but certainly we're talking weeks, not months. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks that we'll have something ready to roll out. That's a question for the DPO team, but we're in constant communication. I don't want to put them on the spot too much, but
exactly.
we're pretty much on target. I think we were hoping to have it out by now, but I think with any software, you have to make sure it's all working smoothly before you release it. So, but yeah, weeks, I think 1 or 2, hopefully. But,
perfect. All right, fantastic. So before I close out the show, Andrew Jablonski, are you there? I thought it would be best that we don't keep our audience waiting on the big reveal as to what does PSL stand for.
So PSL does not stand for Pumpkin Spice Latte, which was the only submission we got. We may want to rename it, who knows, if that's what people like. PSL stands for Production Systems Limited. And I, like you, Ivana, did not know for a long time. I thought it was services, and I was just corrected recently. We all know, and we can sleep easy at night.
I love it. All right. Well, Alistair, thank you, Andrew. And Alistair, if you can stop sharing your screen, I'll go ahead and just close out a couple of the items. So I just want to say thank you so much to all of you that attended today. These products that we showed to you are available now. And if you want to get started, please just contact your sales representative or customer success manager at Cast & Crew. You can also find us on our website at www.castandcrew.com, as well as more information on our digital production office website, especially regarding DPO. So thanks, guys. I appreciate you joining us today. You guys are great.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. That is the end of our webinar. And thanks to Ivana, Lawrence, Andrew, and Alistair for that look at PSL Plus, PCard Plus, and DPO. If you have any further questions regarding the Cast & Crew production suite, we welcome you to contact us directly by emailing salesinfo@castandcrew.com. We look forward to seeing you at future webinars. And until then, stay safe, everyone.